Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining FM 1059 radio with the Chinese radio network with the Canada Living Cantonese program. On the line, we have the honor to have our guest from Mississauga, the mayor of Mississauga, Bonnie Crombie, and then our program host with Josephine Powell and myself, Alex Hill. So Josephine, can you fight it off?
Okay, first of all, 恭喜發財. Wish everybody a happy year of all.
恭喜發財，恭喜發財.
All the best, and stay healthy, stay safe, and make all the money you can. Right? And become fat, right? In the bank.
So Mayor Crombie, would you like to also do a Chinese New Year greeting?
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. So it's my pleasure to introduce you the mayor of my great city, Mississauga. Okay, and she's Bonnie Crombie, and before she joins politics, she was an entrepreneur. So you can expect Mississauga is going to be more prosperous and more prosperous. Yeah, okay.
And run like a business, Josephine. Don't forget that. There we go. So let me just wish everybody a very happy new year, very healthy in particular, and prosperous. So I'd like to say, 新年快樂. Very happy new year. Gong Xi Fat Choi, of course, and Gong Xi Fat Say. So very happy new year in as many of the dialects as I can manage. And of course, just hoping very much that this year will be better and brighter and more prosperous than last year. And I hope there weren't too many people feeling the effects of COVID. I think we all know somebody who did come down with COVID, and very unfortunate. I hope if you did, the symptoms were light, and let's hope that this is a better year. The vaccines are here, so I'm very hopeful that this will be a much better, brighter year.
Good, thank you. Tonight we're going to explore 4 items, primarily the economic outlook of City of Mississauga, and then we explore a little bit about the affordable housing, the rental units, and then we talk a little bit about how safe Mississauga is, and a little bit related to the Peel Regional Police, because Mayor Crombie is also the chair of the Peel Regional Police Service Board. And then last but not least, we talk a little bit about transportation, which used to be, a problem in most of the, Ontario cities. So, okay, without further ado, let's start with Mayor Crombie. What is the economic outlook, in Mississauga, despite a year of hardship?
Yes, so I have very good news about that. We started the year with an operational deficit, but we worked very hard to overcome that as a city. We put in all kinds of mitigating measures. We canceled any discretionary funding or any discretionary spending, which was great. We did have the, unfortunately, lay off 2,000 people, the part-time people that staffed all our rec centers, our cultural facilities, of course, because those were closed. Even the libraries. So we did everything we could to get our house in order. And then of course we're not allowed to run deficits. Unlike the federal and the provincial governments, we're not permitted to run a deficit. And we are the only level of government that actually laid off people during the recession because we tried to be, very fiscally responsible. And so we had to do that, make those tough decisions. But of course, the federal and the provincial governments put those financial supports in place to help people. So they did that. And I will say that the mayors right across Canada and the provincial mayors too, in Ontario, we came together and we asked for operational funding. Now, this is unprecedented. They don't like to give us money because, of course, we have to have a balanced budget. Unlike them, they can borrow, we cannot. We have to have a balanced budget. Whatever we take in is all we can spend. But this year was quite different. We were losing $7.5 million every month just in transit on our My Way transit. So they did come forward with funding, and I will share with you that between the measures we put in place, some cost cutting, we found some savings by eliminating some transit routes and not hiring any new people. And we did whatever we could, and we will end end the year in a good, solid position, so there won't be a deficit, and we're coming into the new year on the same. Now, we're in a very strong position in Mississauga. We've always been fiscally responsible. I'm happy to tell you we will only have a 0.9% increase, under 1% increase. But of course, I have to have a little bit because I have union contracts that are, 65% of my costs are labor costs. And those union contracts are still 2%, so we have to. Plus, we're continuing to put money aside for debt repayment and interest repayment and infrastructure levy. So a little bit of money has to go away to protect ourselves too. So that's where we come up with the 0.9. It's under 1%, and I'm very, very pleased about that. Now, we are continuing to build and to grow in Mississauga. I know we'll talk about the LRT later, so I won't talk about that. But in the south of the city, so much development going on. We have the former power plant, the OPG, Ontario Power Generation, 167 acres being built. There'll be 15,000 people, 5,000 jobs, mixed use community. Mixed use, so housing, residential, as well as commercial, business, etc. There will be an area that we call the Innovation Corridor. The city owns some land there that we will put a center of excellence or maybe university campus. This is very exciting news for us. And then towards the west end of the city, also in the south, was the former oil refinery, the Texaco oil, right? And that's on 72 acres, also waterfront. Both of these are waterfront communities being rebuilt, reclaimed land that was brownfields. So I'm very pleased. And then around the Port Credit, right in the downtown, we will be looking at the marina lands there, and there's 15 acres that is owned by the federal government, Canada Lands, and we'd like to put a public marina, and that area will be redeveloped. So that's just in the south. The other area that's incredibly is Eglinton and Pure, Ontario, and you will remember the Emerald Restaurant, of course, and even that plaza was being proposals for redevelopment. All four corners of Eglinton and Pure, Ontario, we're now calling that Uptown. Wow. Our Uptown is being redeveloped. It's quite interesting. And then finally, last one is the downtown. You've heard of M-City being built, but I actually have 25 towers breaking ground in the next 5 years, which is very exciting. And then in my downtown, there are no height restrictions. So we have people coming in with 80, 90, 100 stories. This was not our decision or even mine when I was mayor. I remember Hazel wanted to get people in the downtown. So this is where the density should be, so they put no height restrictions. And then the mall, of course, our beautiful Square One, that's very upscale now, beautiful mall. They are redeveloping the land to the north of them. We call it the bench land. So between Oxford Properties that owns the mall and Omers, the pension fund, they're putting in another 35 towers there. Now, some of them, of course, will be commercial, will be office, and the rest will be, residential. So mixed use. So you can see there's so much growth in Mississauga. Great place to put your investment, great place to live, to work, to invest. That's what we like to say. Come to Mississauga to live,
Bonnie, I like to add,
to invest.
That 6 months ago, when I look at the bright water, because we are also in the real estate program, right? So when I looked at it, I was so impressed by the design with the petroleum refinery being, overhaul and to become, such a wonderful, lakeshore water type, like a marine type of, like a condo, area, live, work and play area, which is really impressive. And the 25 tower, of course, that's coming along. But even before that, I was very impressed by the builder in Mississauga with the Marilyn Monroe Tower, every single time. When I talk in the city, in the market, in some of the council meeting, said, build some structure that is, people can look at it as if it is an artwork, like the Marilyn Monroe Tower. So I think Mississauga is a great city, and given the fact that, let me switch the subject a little bit, like.
Well, let me just add to that for 1 second. So the City Hall will be bookended by the very curvy Marilyn Monroe Tower. Some people think that they look like a Coke bottle, very curvy. And then on the other side of the downtown is the M-City, and they are also, they twist as well. and they're just as tall, maybe even taller, but they're square. So the downtown will have the square turning towers on the west and the curvy Maryland towers on the east. And so it will change the landscape of even the GTA completely, because you used to see just the CN Tower, right? And then you saw the CN Tower and the Maryland Towers, and now you'll see the M City. So we always ask for interesting architecture, and sometimes the developers put it out to the design panel, right? They have a little competition to create interesting architecture.
Yeah, that's how Marilyn Monroe came, you know, it's a competition.
And I don't know how you guys do the tricks, you know, with those buildings, you know, I only see those in a much bigger city, like a mega city, those type of things. Let me stress the local economy. I'm sure the development, everybody is quite impressed. But what I want to turn, you know, there's a lot of Fortune 500 company or S&P 500 company in Mississauga, right? So, you know, like we talk about May in Ontario, you know, because like this May America, we got to be competitive. At the same time, Biden's administration is moving toward the green economy, which, you know, in a way, Ontario is quite good, you know, in the automobile industry with the electric vehicle. And I know that there's some of the manufacturing in Mississauga is actually doing the EV battery, those type of things. Not to mention a lot of other components. And, you know, of course, we likely have some renewable energy type of infrastructure manufacturer in Mississauga. You know, I don't doubt it. So let me ask you, based on the context with the Biden administration, with green economies, net zero, as well as the electric car is taking the wave, you know, like, and then we are also competing over the border with the Maine, Ontario, Maine, America. How do you see the economy, all this, you know, like a tenant that move into Mississauga, you know, like for the future year to come, you know, we can continue to count on Mississauga as one of the employment, you know, like a cluster in the GTA area. Is that something that we are looking for?
So yeah, so we're a net importer of jobs. You know, we have about 500,000 jobs in Mississauga. More people start and end their day in Mississauga that drive out to go work somewhere else. So we have 96,000 businesses here, 75 Fortune 500s, right? 1,400 multinationals. We are the business capital of Canada, to be sure, on a per capita basis. So we're very proud of that. And we have 4 key sectors. One of our largest is our life sciences sector.
Yes.
We have, you know, of course, all the pharmaceutical companies are based here, the biotech, pharma tech. We have about 450 companies in that line of business. We could have made the vaccine here. We should have.
That's anyway, what I thought. We should have made Mississauga vaccine.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Life sciences is our big one, but of course we have IT here as well, just as everyone does. The innovation corridor goes right through Mississauga, from, you know, Waterloo right through Mississauga to Toronto and then up to Markham, right? They go right on the line, right up. So IT, and of course finance, and then advanced manufacturing. You know, when we have so many in manufacturing plants, industrial plants, warehousing. We have food and beverage companies here. We have 90 hot offices, and clean tech is based out here as well. We have many clean tech companies, as you were mentioning earlier. So we're very pleased that many companies have chosen Mississauga as the place to invest. And I think that the fact that we have the 400 series highways in Mississauga, proximity to the airport, which is very, very important for many companies to have easy access to the airport. We have great governance here. There's a lot of stability with our governance. You know, Hazel was mayor for 36 years, and that just provides a lot of confidence for people. We have an economic development office that helps companies land, invest. We handhold companies as they look for real estate, as they look for employment lawyers or immigration lawyers. We do everything we can to make it easy for companies to land here. And of course, they see how great a city we are and how great the real estate is here, what great communities, neighborhoods we have, schools. So it is a place where people want to live, work, and invest, as I said earlier. So we're very, very proud of that. We're very proud of the businesses we have here. And of course, we provide all kinds of services. You know, during the pandemic, we did a lot of outreach to our companies. We had 110 businesses engage in one-on-one consultations representing 14,000 employees. I did 10 roundtables with businesses attended by over 50 businesses and 19,000 employees, and including industry, small business representatives, BIAs, business associations, and the Board of Trade. And then we provided assistance on Digital Main Street to help our companies, our small companies, digitize so that they had an online footprint, right? And there was funding available for that. And we asked the government to ensure that funding continued. We helped 180, more than 180 companies get online through the Digital Main Street program. Oh, in fact, they're telling me over 600 businesses were assisted total. What was the other number I gave you? Oh, 180 took part in the Digital Main Street Service Squad that helped them achieve digital. So we were helping companies wherever we can. 50 small businesses took our training seminars, our webinars, with over 4,000 in attendees. And over 315 businesses were listed on the Mississauga Made website. So we
you
tried
have
to
been
do
very
as much
busy,
as we could. Yeah, we tried to do a lot for our companies. Now, the one thing that municipalities can't do, and I know it's a source of frustration, is, you know, grants and loans and subsidies. Municipalities aren't permitted to do that. The provincial government sees that as bonusing, and it's not allowed. We're not allowed to do it. We're not allowed to take the money we collect from residents on property taxes and give it back to businesses. That's something where none of the cities can do. The provincial government can do it, and they do it. The federal can, but for us, it's regarded as bonusing, and we're not allowed to do that for businesses. Because I know there was an expectation, how can the city help us more? Can you help us? And we had to make it very clear. We can provide supports and training however we can, but when you're looking for those subsidies, they can't come from the municipal level.
You can only defer tax or whatever.
And we did, yeah, we deferred property taxes to make it easy. And I tell you, less than 4% didn't pay.
Yeah. It's the same thing happening in Markham.
Everyone who could did, right? Everyone who could did.
Yeah.
And the Economic Development Office has a portal which is so unique.
Right.
All sorts of resources there, the tools, and also list all the grants and subsidies, you know, ranging from the Fed to Ontario. So that's very nice. Let's move on to a next one. You know, like people want to invest in Mississauga, and then we want to be assured. How is our safety in our community? I remember a few years ago when we were in the safety summit, right?
I remember. Yeah.
I was so impressed when you gave me how safe we are in comparison to other cities of the same size.
So I'm very honored to be on the Police Services Board, as the other mayor, Mayor Brampton is, and the regional chair is as well. And I will tell you that this year we tried to keep the increase to a minimum, but at the same time, I think there is an expectation for residents to ensure there is safety in our communities. And, you know, we're on a per capita basis. We have lower police officers than other regions on a per capita basis. So we wanted to put more boots on the ground. So we got 27 new officers. Our increase was 3.7%, which was about $16.5 million. So, but it doesn't, it's about 2.9% on the net tax levy. So, you know, when we take that $16 million, you know, in the regional budget, it's very little. It's very little, but it was so important. It was so important, I think, signal that we need officers here, and we're going to ensure that we get them this year, and we keep building as well. But not only that, I will say that the officers we do have are so incredible. Not only are they so dedicated, they're very good at their jobs. You know, we have one of the highest solvency rates in Canada, meaning if a crime is committed in Mississauga or Brampton, because it's Peel Regional Police, the odds are they will find out who did it and solve that crime. It's over 75% solvency. And there are, you know, areas in Canada that are less than 50%, right? They are very good at their jobs, very, very dedicated, wonderful men and women in uniform.
Either you got a great team over there, or there's some vendor in the Mississauga with the CSI software, you know, to make this happen. But honestly, Mayor Bonnie Crombie, my daughter used to study in University of Toronto in Mississauga campus. So when I visit her, one of the things that I find out, your street light is so much brighter than those in the York region. I hate to say that. So I said, oh, this is so bright. So actually, and it's also on the two sides of the street, rather than, you know, in the city of Markham, we're not in the main road. So it's only the side, one side will have the street light. So I was really impressed. That will add up to the public safety as well. Yes.
So we were one of the first cities that implemented the LED lighting.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with it. And, you know, we were told it would be a 6-year return on investment. And it was less than that. It was about 4 years. We got all our money back. And you know, those LED lights last forever, and they're brighter, as you say, because we shine here in Mississauga for sure. And I should mention as well that I have a new, very young chief, right? When Jennifer Evans retired, we had to go out and recruit a new chief. And there was some discussion about whether it's, you know, internal is best or external, but we found an incredible guy in Chief Nish Duriapa. What an incredible inspirational guy, and the morale is increased, and they're so dedicated to him, and he has such great new ideas. You know, that we're now cutting edge on the use of innovation and technology in policing. We're one of the first, along with Toronto, to adopt the body-worn cameras, so there will be less discrepancies, you know, in investigations, because it'll all be recorded. So, you know, and there'll be fewer complaints about, you know, and harassment issues, etc. It's just, it has been a godsend.
Much easier, you know, everybody can see. It's like a dash cam, right? So actually, I don't want to say too much bad PR for Markham. They actually catch up with the so it was quite a few years before, right? But anyway.
You know, in fairness, Mississauga is a much bigger city. We're the 6th largest in Canada, the 3rd largest in Ontario. It's Toronto, Ottawa, Mississauga, and we're not far behind Ottawa. The perception is, right, that we're smaller and we're a suburb city, but the reality is we're not. We're almost 800,000 people, right?
Yeah. And most importantly, we will have, you know, more employment opportunities, right?
That's right.
But
let me put a plug in. I think Mayor Frank Scarpitti does a great job.
Oh yeah,
you know, if I couldn't live here in Mississauga, maybe Markham I would consider.
I'll share this with him. But anyway, Josephine, I think, you know, like the safety topic, I think is good. Maybe I should switch the angle and talk about the housing. Because when I talk to you, I thought that affordable housing is a problem with Mississauga. But when I looked at it, it's not as bad compared to the other GTA city, you know, primarily Markham, Richmond, Vaughan, or Toronto, right? So, but the price of the house, you know, for if I remember, you know, in Mississauga, I think they're in the 16% rise last year. And then the condo is also catching up, you know, like, so based on the, you know, like, you know, the affordability, you know, of the Mississauga area, I'm not 100% sure. And, you know, with the inclusionary zoning is being passed in Ontario, you know, what is the strategy of Mississauga in the housing supply? I think, you know, there's 25 towers upcoming. There should be enough housing supply. What about the affordability? Have you guys, you know, project, you know, the next 5 or 10 years, will the housing price continue to increase? How that's going to affect the affordability in Mississauga area?
And I remember Mississauga implemented, you know, they making the room for the middle.
That's right.
Effective last April, right? April last year. Was it April last year?
Oh, the missing middle. The missing middle.
Yeah, making room for the middle.
I wanted to get a bit more light. Ooh, too much. Okay.
Too much.
You are the light. You are the light.
You are the light.
So we are the first city
Yeah,
and maybe this is still the only city that has a strategy for affordable middle-class housing. Because at the end of the day, the region of Peel does the subsidized housing for people who can't afford their housing. And, you know, of course, we have a long wait list like everybody, but we do purchase units each year to add them to our inventory. But Mississauga, we were concerned about being priced out of the market. We want people to live and work in our city. So if you work in the service industry, or if you're a teacher or a librarian or a nurse, we want you to be able to afford to live in the city that you work in. We have so many jobs. So we thought, let's do something for the middle class. Obviously, I don't worry about the upper end. They can take care of themselves a little more. And of course, we have big, beautiful homes here for everybody. But let's look at the middle class. So the average sale of a price of a home when we did the study was, you know, about $900,000. The average price of a home, 4-bedroom home in Mississauga in 2020, $875,000. Our vacancy rate used to be 1%. I think it's climbed a little bit now. It's about 2%. 3% is healthy. So we're not there yet. And we also know that 30% of households spend more than 30% of their income on housing. So that's really, really tough. And as I said, we wanted people to live here. So we had a goal of inspiring, incentivizing developers to build purpose-built rental and affordable ownership houses, homes and condos, of course. So aiming for incomes that are, you know, $60,000 to $100,000, which is pretty for an average family, an average middle-class family, around $100,000. So around the price point of about $400,000, $450,000 for a unit that's a family-sized unit, affordable, or about $1,600 rental for a family. So those were our goals. And we, you know, we had a panel that had all the experts on it from the province, from the industry, on how do we incentivize the buildings. And we came up with about 40 recommendations on how to do that. And that's been passed by our council. And of course, we need cooperation from other levels of government. But yes, inclusionary zoning is a part of it. It is everywhere. So that when you have a big new development, you have to have a percentage set aside for affordability. And I don't mean subsidized, I mean for middle class housing, you know, so that we have families that can afford to live there. And so far we have the Peel Daniels project right in the downtown core, which will bring 174 low and middle income units to the downtown. We have new market rental housing as well as another Daniels project on Eglinton and Erin Mills, another more than 300 units happening there, and so many in the pipeline. I could go through the list, but so the developers got the message. So no matter what you build, and if you have multiple, large development with multiple buildings, then you may want to allocate just one building that's affordable for middle class. Now, I'm not talking about subsidized, right? There's a difference here. Subsidized housing, the Region of Peel provides, because what we tend to do with the subsidized housing is same as everybody does. You get the ordinary building, whether it's condo, rental, and the region will go in and purchase a number of units. And that's where we subsidize the rent for people there so that they're integrated. And that's the best way to do it. Not build large barracks was the old way of doing it, right? Like the region parks of the world. And we know that now. We've redeveloped that area and it's beautiful and everybody wants to live there.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a lot of friendly developers to do the business together with you guys, you know, and solving some of the local problem. Right. It's take a lot of charisma to do that. I'm really impressed. Yes.
We twist their arms a little bit too. You know, you want to build.
You don't just twist your arm, twist the tower as well.
This is what it
twist
takes.
The arm, twist the tower. Yeah. That all happened. Yeah.
I can imagine even the waterfront properties, you know, have those type of units. I thought this is so unique, you know.
Absolutely. Right? And the waterfront insurer, the Brightwater, they're actually put some land aside for the Region of Peel to build a subsidized building as well as affordable. They've been very good about this. We're working with Lakeview to do the same. We just haven't got to the agreements yet, but they know that that's the expectation.
I don't know whether you know, Bonnie, you know, like they Brightwater actually take the Soho Tower from Beijing to the Brightwater. Did you know that? This actually look like I know that they're working. That's actually the Soho headquarters. It's look exactly like that. Yeah. The Soho headquarters, the largest developer in China.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I know they work with a Copenhagen-based architect, and I've seen some of the plans and some of the designs. And when I did the education mission to Sweden, I spent a day in Copenhagen to see some of his buildings. And so I know that they're all energy efficient, right? They're cutting edge,
You know what?
they're sustainable, all of that. And it's
I'll send you the photo of the Soho headquarters.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Love to see it. But we're very blessed to have all this development on reclaimed land, revitalized land right on the water. I mean, who doesn't want to live near the water if they can?
I mean,
right?
all these skyscraper, you know, come out, you know, in a nice way. It's make
Yes.
it more friendly, you know. It's like a public arts, you know. To me,
Right.
you know, it's really amazing. So I think I'm quite happy with this housing sector. So maybe we can move on to the transportation, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Josie, you want to?
Mississauga is going to have the light rail transit. And you know what? I'm so proud that you made some changes, right? To make it the loop to serve the high rises, the residents of the high rises, you know, like behind Square One, right? You can tell us a little bit more about this project and how did you go about it to make it, you know, like such a change after even work has already started at Dundas, right, at that point.
Mm-hmm. So a couple things. Let's talk about the LRT, which will travel north and south along here, Ontario. It's 19 kilometers and 18 stops. It does stop a little after at Brampton Shoppers World. They did not agree to have it move into there. We had hoped to take it right to the GO station because ours intersects at both the Cooksville GO and of course starts at the Port Credit GO and goes north. And each stop is about a kilometer long at all the major intersections in Mississauga. And yes, we very much hope to have it loop around the downtown because there is so much development going on, and we gave parking considerations, you know, for many of those developers in those buildings because there would be public transit. They needed less they didn't need to provide as much parking spaces for those units. Unfortunately, the provincial government has taken that element out of the design, but there's still time. We will be breaking ground this year, of course, and the work has started. They've shifted utilities underground and they've expropriated land and all that. So I'm very hopeful that by the time we get up to here, Ontario and Burnham Thorpe, that we'll have found the additional funding to put the loop back in for the downtown. So we're very, you know, that's great news. And of course, we're looking at bus rapid transit as well. The Lakeshore line has been is announced for funding from the provincial government. And that's so important because of all the development occurring on Lakeshore. And then the Dundas line, we're waiting for an announcement about a BRT on Dundas. So from Kipling Station all the way to UTM for the students, right? So that they have bus rapid transit on a dedicated lane there too. So those, and then of course, you know that we have a transit way that is constantly building each year, building ridership, and it's parallel to the 403 highway, and it's about 18 kilometers. Yeah, once again, a bus rapid transit, but that could be converted to light rail at some point too. So lots of plans to move Mississauga forward, literally move us, build in more public transit in Mississauga because it's needed. And, you know, we're looking at the new developments, Brightwater and Lakeview, and, you know, make sure that they connect into the GO train stations or into LRT from those developments. And so they're looking at some very unique solutions, which we saw in Sweden, like driverless shuttles, right? Autonomous shuttles, right? So very unique solutions we're looking at everywhere to get people moving on public transit in Mississauga. So you can leave your car at home. We've been a car-focused city for too long, and it is time that we leave our dependence on the car and all of us start to embrace more public transit.
Let me ask you a quick question, Mayor Crombie. The Eglinton, what they have done is the Eglinton Connect, you know, along the
crosstown. Yes, crosstown.
So did we do the same thing in here on Ontario in every station? Like you have about 19 stations, right? Did you do similar stuff?
Yes, of course. And so with the transit way, along the 403, it goes to Eglinton, and it will connect with crosstown. It will connect the transit way.
Then what I mean, every station, do you have, sort of like a shopping cluster, like a mixed type of development, so that there's some small business, nearby with all this station. So that's what I talk about, the Eglinton the Eglinton Connect. So every station that they have surrounding them is a cluster of small business, with some mixed type of development. So that they have shopping, at the bottom, but living, above.
Right.
So is it the similar type of things?
Yeah, that is the strategy in Mississauga. So Hurontario is our, primary boulevard, like our University Avenue. It's beautiful. Exactly. There's residential in the south, and then you move north, and there are many multi-residential units, apartment buildings, condos. You go through the downtown, and then you go into uptown, and then there is some parts of Hurontario that are yet to be developed. They're owned and there are plans, but there's a lot of development occurring, and much of it is business related. But with the condominiums, we always try to, when they're residential, try to ensure that there's a mixed use there as well, so that they have the amenities that people need, the dry cleaners and the variety stores, that all those are available, that there is retail on the main level. I think that's really important. And you'll see that right along Hurontario, going all the way up to Brampton Shoppers World. So lots of changes on that corridor. You see a lot of buildings turning over as well. And the interesting thing about, if those buildings along the corridor turn over, then whoever purchases them has to replace them with the same affordable type housing, whether there or somewhere close by. So we don't want to take affordable housing, because some of those buildings are older and they're, let's be honest, a little more affordable for people to live in. They're larger units. So if they get bought up to build luxury condos along the LRT, that's a problem, because we've taken affordability out of the mix. So there is one of the recommendations.
Balance with the heritage in the neighborhood. So let me ask you another angle. Like that was quite popular in the GTA and the other city. It's like, as you know, the work from home affect the workforce, the way that how they, do travel in the morning, in particular with the peak hour. So I know that there's a traffic pattern change. Whether this traffic pattern change, as a result of the work from home, which is more or less like a paradigm change, happened in many corporate. But of course, a lot of people still want to go back to work. So we don't know the judgment yet. So, but have, like a city of Mississauga sort of put that into perspective, that, how you're going to go about the transit, the road expansion, and making your business case with all these LRT, or the transit expansion. Is it something go ahead, yeah.
So this is something we're trying to understand as well. So, in downtown Toronto with all those office towers, what will happen to those office towers? Will people continue to work from home? Do they want to return to work? Traffic patterns change, they can't even accommodate people in their elevators because only safely 2 people at a time, right? So how will that impact Mississauga? What will happen to our office buildings? And, will they convert? People are working differently. They're working different hours, as you're suggesting, and they're working from home. So what changes, will we need to consider? Where traffic patterns are one of them. We have something called ATMS, their integrated transit system, basically. And they look at, so they have an elaborate control panel back at headquarters, and they can control the traffic flow by changing the light patterns to make the flow go easier in one direction in the morning and back the other direction the other night, by syncing and coordinating all the light standards to change the lights all the same time to help the flow of traffic. So we can do that in Mississauga. Many cities can do that. We're a smart city, so we can control all that technology. So that's something that we can do and we have been doing. But certainly, with the pandemic, it has changed patterns, as you're saying. And will people return to work? Will they continue to work from their homes? These are big questions. And even autonomous vehicles, that's a whole other issue.
Yes.
So will people need their own vehicle? Will they hire vehicles? Will we need driveways? Will we need parking stalls? Where will we house autonomous vehicles? Will we all own one, or will we just ride share? Or
10
will we
years
hire
from now,
one when
you
we
will
need
see
one?
that on the road, yeah.
Right. So this is all very new, and that we're still learning about, you know, what the changes will come in the future.
But honestly, when I was on the road, you know, for my medical appointments, right, I didn't find the roads empty. Even people were working from home. Maybe we were like, we had so much congestion before. Now it's actually just good for the volume, the car volume on the roads. That's how I see it.
Probably cars, you know, still a lot of people still using the
But I
personal
don't drive, you know, I
transportation.
don't go out.
So I will share with you that, you know, back in the beginning of the pandemic, we locked down on March 16th, and the end of March, April, May. I will tell you that more people were calling in complaints of road racing, speeding, and the sound of mufflers, right? In the beginning, up until about June, you could shoot a cannon down a street. They were empty, and the complaints were about street racing because people weren't on the roads. There were no cars. And now in this lockdown, there are more cars, right? People are out doing their activities. They're going shopping. Some, let's be honest, some are essential workers, have to go to work, and we understand that. Essential where people out doing their medical appointments or going to their groceries, but more cars are on the road. Traffic is lighter, but not like at the beginning of the pandemic. Beginning of pandemic was completely deserted everywhere.
They all use the personal transportation instead of going to the public transit. I think that's what
right.
happened. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I think, you know, like Josephine, we are all almost close to toward the end, right?
Yeah. And actually, thank you, Mayor Crombie, for joining us once again. You know, like we learned so much about Mississauga and how wonderful the outlook is once, you know, the pandemic is over. You know, businesses will be returned as, you know, usual and normal. And So, 恭喜發財 once again.
恭喜發財
新年快樂.
新年快樂. And then,
very happy New Year.
And thank you for doing a great job in Mississauga. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the GTA as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And say hello to Frank for me.
We need more of you.
Yep.
We need more of you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for today.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.